One of the things I've noticed that has a vocal segment of the Civ community up in arms is Firaxis' choice of some of Civ VII's leaders. Admittedly, I myself have expressed my own disappointment, less at the inclusions and more at the exclusions of the leaders in Civ VII. What I find most upsetting is that any debate on the merits of the inclusion of one leader or another often devolves into the panoply of online rage tropes of race and gender, which, well, in 2026 is a bit idiotic. Let's be grown-ups. But this is Civilization Stories, where we explore alternatives to history through the lens of the world's most addictive video game, so let's not shy away from this one and explore an alternative to this history where Firaxis' choices for leaders in Civ VII were slightly more enlightened. To do this, I want to first recognize that every historical figure included in the Civ games is worthy of being recognized for their contribution to the story of humanity. But for this exercise, we want to make sure that we make a clear distinction between a leader and a great person. The greatest sadness of Civ VII was their ditching of the great person mechanic that had been around in some form or another since Civ IV. Civ III had great leaders, close, but not quite the same thing. But I digress. Civ VI stretched the use of great people just about as far as any game could, with each great person offering a unique benefit to the civilization that patrons them. The Civilization games have always prided themselves on being gateways to better understanding the history of this great planet and the people that walk upon it, and rightly so. In their effort to dig deep and acknowledge some of the less recognized contributors to history, without a clear great person mechanic, the only space to include these figures now is on the leaderboard. But what qualities should define a Civ leader? And conversely, what qualities should define a great person in the Civ games? As we go through this, if I find that according to my criteria, and yes, it's my criteria, okay? Sure, you might have your own criteria, but I don't care. This is my channel, so I'll do what I want. As I was saying, as we go through this, if I find that a Civ leader actually falls into the category of great person, I will say so and try to explain why they don't belong. If I determine that they are not a leader but a great person, I will try to fit them into a great person category. Also, when I demote a Civ VII leader to great person, I will try to pick out some figures from history who better fit the criteria for being a leader. Lastly, yes, context is important. Gender, race, religion, and all that stuff is not. I don't care what a person looks like, sounds like, or any of that. I care about their contribution to history in their time and whether it fits that of a leader or a great person. I can acknowledge that people of certain races and certain genders have had unfair advantages in certain parts of the world, while others have been unfairly disadvantaged. That, too, is part of history. But an individual's inclusion or exclusion from the leader pool is measured solely on what they contributed to history. In short, I measure these individuals on what they are best known for and will try to discern whether that thing shows the quality of a great person or a leader. So let's look at some Civ leaders where there is no doubting their leadership. Let's talk about some classic Civ leaders. Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Shaka, and Julius Caesar. These are classic leaders who combined being a head of state with actually leading armies into battle. As lamentable as war is, it is one human activity that has, for better or worse, shaped the world. Of these four leaders, only Genghis Khan is in Civ VII, but only if you have the Genghis Khan pack. Those with only the base game are shut out. Augustus is the Roman inclusion in Civ VII, in place of Julius Caesar and or Trajan, who got the nod in Civ VI. He has his own history in the Civ franchise, and his fame as Caesar exists in the same sphere, certainly, as Julius. One leader who also fits this criteria of simultaneous head of state and army commander, but was not in Civ VI and is a very welcome re-entrant into the leader pantheon, is Napoleon. If you have the DLCs, Napoleon comes with two personas, Emperor and Revolutionary. I would say that it is his role as Emperor, or head of state, that most qualifies him as an ideal leader in Civ, but as we will see, Civ VII has a soft spot for revolutionaries. Among those revolutionaries that the Civ franchise has a great love for is Simón Bolívar, and for good reason. His likeness is plastered all over the northwestern portion of South America. He led armies in the field and was also the first president of the Republic of Colombia. He made his first appearance in Civ VI, and I think this was one of the best leader additions to the Civ franchise. Most of the playable Civs from South America were stuck in the ancient past, Civs that were colonized by Europeans. To have a South American Civ that has its roots in the modern era was a nice touch. Sadly, though, Civ 7 players with only the base game cannot play as Simon Bolivar. Prussia has never really shown up as a playable Civ until now, which is kind of a shame. Civ games have always defaulted to Germany, who are no longer a playable Civ, and which is also kind of a shame. But Frederick the Great, who appeared as leader of Germany in Civs 1 to 4, has returned and also fits this bill as head of state and commander in the field. Welcome back, Frederick. Attaboy. But in general, heads of state command the respect of being counted as leaders in Civ, whether they personally commanded armies or not. And for this reason, I have to give nods to Catherine the Great of Russia and Isabella of Spain. Queens Elizabeth and Victoria for so long fit the bill here as monarchs who held the English throne and shaped the world for centuries without riding out into battle. Sadly, they were overlooked, for now, in this edition of Civ. Instead, English representation was given to Ada Lovelace, a writer and mathematician who could maybe be considered the world's first computer programmer. She died at just 36 years old, and though a noble, she was not a monarch, politician, or head of state, nor did she lead armies into battle or alter or shape the borders of empires during her time or at any time after. She is, I am sorry to say, not a leader, but a great person. I think I said it before that I don't really care who's made a leader in Civ as long as I can make a case for them over someone who ought to be a leader but might be missing. There's no Alexander the Great, no Shaka, and no Gandhi. The sun never sets on what was once the British Empire, and there are two notable female leaders who helped make that possible. The fact that Ada Lovelace was chosen ahead of them for Civ 7 is lamentable. Marquis de Lafayette was also a nobleman, and he led armies in the field. And though he was an astute politician, he was never a modern head of state. He has as good a case as anybody to be counted as a leader in Civ, but I can't do it. He is a great person, and would make an excellent great general, so much so that it is surprising he had never appeared in the Civ series until now. But as I said previously, the Firaxis team loves their revolutionaries. The game also already has French representation with Napoleon, making Lafayette's inclusion slightly redundant. Ben Franklin was never a head of state and never led armies into battle. He was a writer, inventor, politician, and statesman. You could put him as a great person in multiple categories, but he's not a leader. Yes, the US deserves to have representation in the Civ series, and there's no shortage of candidates that have appeared before, but that were omitted from Civ 7, including George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and the Roosevelts. All would have been a better choice. Again, Ben Franklin is fine as a leader, but I feel you kind of need to have one of those four in there first. So for this exercise, he gets tossed off the leaderboard. That brings me to another American, and for some reason, this seems to be the most contentious of all, and that's Harriet Tubman. I'm sorry. She's a great person. What she did during the American Revolution cannot be understated, and her own contribution may often get overlooked compared to Frederick Douglass simply because she's a woman. But she's a great person, not a leader. There hasn't been a great spy in Civ since Civ 4, but this is the perfect category for her, and you could shape a whole number of intriguing mechanics around her if she appeared in that form. I would love to see her on the American $20 bill. She earned that. But she's a leader in Civ 7 not because of her contribution to history, but because of who she was, a revolutionary. And Firaxis loves their revolutionaries. She hits all of the marks of underrepresentation, but that's not enough for me. That's not what this exercise is about. She's a great person, not a leader. I give a lot of leeway over to ancient history. Something happens around the late 14th century with the popularization of Marco Polo, the writings of Petrarch, the Renaissance, Copernicus, and the adoption of the heliocentric principle, and the discovery of the New World, that all of the noble historical events that happened since, I feel we still seem to live with. But before then, there are a ton more gray areas where it can be difficult to separate greatness from leadership. Take ancient Persia. Although I think there are more worthy leaders for consideration than Xerxes, he does fit the bill of the previously mentioned head of state plus leader of armies in the field. Ditto Ashoka and Charlemagne. Pachacuti and the Trung sisters of Vietnam I throw into the same category. Tecumseh and Native American leaders like Poundmaker, Hiawatha, Pocatello, and Sitting Bull I am in no position to debate. I conceive of First Nations peoples as not adhering to the same sort of centralized power that comes with typical old world empire building. Their sense of leadership is much different. In each case, they are tribal chieftains, and in context, they all fit. Having visited Egypt and understanding the unique role played by Hatshepsut in pharaonic history, and with her long history as a leader in the Civ games, I do find her an ideal female leader for Egypt, more so even than Cleopatra, who was the Egyptian representative in Civ 6. Leader, 100%. Inclusions I find trickier to come to grips with, again, it's because of the exclusions, but that I give a pass to, are Amina and Himiko. Himiko's historical legacy goes so far back that she was introduced to the Civ series not even as a great person, but as a hero. Not only is she a leader in Civ 7, but she has 2 playable personas if you've paid for all of the DLCs. That is one of the most remarkable graduations in all of the Civ franchises. Amina had a graduation of sorts as well, rising from Great General in Civ 6 to leader in Civ 7. I'm going to give her a pass because she was, in fact, a queen, albeit of a city-state. She did, however, command armies in the field in an attempt to expand her power and influence, and from what I can tell was pretty ruthless. Whereas Harriet Tubman was busy trying to free slaves, Amina was kind of busy making money selling them in the markets. Although I think you could make a case that there are better leader representatives from Africa, I have to give Amina her due. She fits as a leader. So, who have we not talked about? Confucius. As I said, I give a pass to folks from ancient history, but I also stated that this is about what are they most known for. Confucius was a philosopher. He was not a statesman, nor a warrior who fought in battles that shaped borders. He's a great person, not a leader. He's perfect as a great prophet, which is what he was in Civ 6. China deserves representation in Civ, and there's no shortage of great leaders to choose from. Gilgamesh was a mythological character from ancient Mesopotamian mythology. He's fun to play, and I love almost everything about Civ 6, but let's be honest. He's a great person, not a leader. Ibn Battuta was a traveler and an adventurer. By that criteria, you may as well make me a leader in Civ 7. No, come on. He's at best a great person. Considering the dearth of representation of the Middle East in Civ 7, his inclusion as a leader is all the more puzzling. Speaking of making me a leader in Civ 7, Edward Teach. I hate saying it, but I guess I have to accept that I kind of look like a dirty pirate. But that being said, no, not even going to get into it. But I mean, come on, not a leader, not even a great person, a unique unit, maybe. Sayyida al-Hurra. I'm not a fan of this one. She's like the female version of Edward Teach, best known for her piracy. Although she was governor of Tetuan and fought against the Spanish in the 15th century, this is kind of a coin flip. But I'd rather see her representing North African leadership than Ibn Battuta. Again, I just wish if there was going to be leadership from that part of the world, that there also be a playable Civ from that part of the world. So let's see, who's next? Jose Rizal. This one is tough. I visited the Philippines a couple of years ago. He is a national hero, though he was never head of state, led armies into battle, or shaped national borders. If there was a playable Filipino Civ that he was attached to, I might be more lenient. But no, and it hurts a bit. Sorry, Philippines, and all of my Filipino friends. Mabuhay. But Jose Rizal is better suited as a great writer, even a great artist, than as a leader. Lakshmi Bai. I mean, let's be honest, I'm just never going to get over the Gandhi omission. I am also kind of 50-50 on this one, and again, Firaxis loves its revolutionaries. She might be better suited as a great general, if I'm being honest, but she does have a decent case to be a leader. She was a monarch and she fought in battles. The rebellion in which she participated was quelled, so she is more of a folk hero than anything else. Again, I suffer from the exclusions more than anything else. Finally, Machiavelli. Sorry, He may have been known for a lot of things, but he's best known for writing The Prince. He's not a leader. He's a great writer, and Civ should have left him that way. So there you go. As I see it, we got 17 true leaders, and a couple of those are contentious ones at that. Again, and I can't stress this point enough, because of some of the leaders that were excluded. We also got 11 great people masquerading as leaders. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be in the game, but if they were to be included, it should be through some other capacity than as a leader at the negotiating table in the story of the history of civilization. Savvy mathematicians will calculate that just under 40% of the leaders in Civ 7 are, in the opinion of this one commentator, unworthy of the title of leader in Civ 7. I know that my criteria might seem vague or that I only came to these conclusions through feeling, but keep in mind that I didn't come up with these conclusions easily. And I think I was generous with a couple of my inclusions, especially in light of, and say it with me, my God, someone's going to turn this into a drinking game, in light of the exclusions. Some notable staples of the Civ franchise that are absent include, previously mentioned, Alexander the Great, Shaka, Julius Caesar, Gandhi. Oh, Gandhi. Gandhi. Can you believe they did not include Gandhi? Firaxis, get your house in order. Lincoln, Washington, Queens Victoria and Elizabeth, Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt, Hammurabi, Hannibal, Louis XIV, Mansa Musa, Salahuddin, Qin Shi Huang, Suleiman, Bismarck, Boudica, Dido. Did I mention Gandhi? Montezuma, Pedro of Brazil, Ram Kang Heng, Theodora, Wu Zetian, and William of Orange. And that's just to name a few. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure when Firaxis writes this ship, we, the consumers, will be asked to purchase all of these leaders as DLC. But considering 11 of 28 leaders on offer fall short of the 26 individuals I just mentioned, well, it says something. I'm not sure what, but it says something. Anyway, this was meant to be a fun video, and I'm sure folks will have their own opinions. Let me know what you think. But I stated at the outset that I've seen discussions on this topic devolve into mindless, pointless nonsense. I won't stand for it in the comments section on my channel. If you can make an argument or a counter argument from an intellectual standpoint and let it stand on its own merit, then let us all know. If not, I'm in charge here of keeping things civil, and there is no arguing with that. Even if my contention is that one figure should or should not be a leader in Civ, their contributions to the story of civilization are still worth being in the game. And I'm glad to see them there, and glad to know of people getting the chance to learn about their legacies. Don't forget about your own legacy, or mine for that matter. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And remember to keep playing and making your own civilization story, your own amazing path through history, and I'll see you next time.